Welcome back and thank you for taking time out to listen to the official Fleetwood Town CodCast. Hello and welcome back. I'm your host Sam Fielding, and this week we're going to talk about the two Fleetwood Town players who represented their nations in this week's international fixtures. We'll also be speaking to Head of Recruitment Ciaran Donnelly. That and much more on the Fleetwood Town CodCast. Yeah, I am joined in the studio from the head of Academy, Ciaran Donnelly, and you came to the club in May of this year, and you've had 3 months, just over 3 months in charge. How has it been so far for you?
It's been a whirlwind of non-stop action so far, to be honest. I came in at the end of last season, at the very end of last season, had the summer to work on things, to try and put things in place for the Academy. But it's been non-stop. It's been a great challenge for me personally. We've done a lot of work to put together a staff that we're happy with moving forward, that we think can take this club to the next level. And now the work begins, really. Now the season's kicked in to put the theory into practice, and hopefully we can push this club forward from the Academy point of view and help us achieve some great things.
Obviously you talk about good things, and this week Billy Crellin and Dan Mooney have played for their countries. Billy with the under-18s for England and Dan with the under-19s for Wales. And for you as staff, it must be something you're very pleased with.
Absolutely. I mean, the two talented lads, I've only known them for a very limited time because of course, as we've just mentioned, I've only been here for just over 3 months, but I've known of them for a lot longer than that. They're, like I said, the two talented lads. They've worked hard to get to the position that they're in. It's a proud moment for everyone at the club. I know that people have said that, but we can't get away from the fact that as an academy, and they're both academy developed players, to have two internationals, one England and one Wales, there is an achievement above and beyond what you could expect. I know that a lot of clubs at our level, don't possess youth internationals within their academy. So for us to have two is a fantastic achievement, and hopefully they go on to win many caps for the countries at lots of different levels. But for now, we can just say well done and keep up the good work to them both.
And you look at the academy as a whole. I know obviously people might look at maybe under 18s as the main one, but for players who are further down the chain, under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, does this maybe give them a bit more of a hunger going forward and thinking, well, look, Billy and Dan have done that, I can do that here at Fleetwood?
What's important is at this stage of our academy being such, only just in our infancy really, is that when we do have success, we must make people aware of it and shout it from the rooftops, because it's a great example of what you can achieve in a short period of time. It's a great example to two different types of players. That Billy's a local boy who has been associated with the club for a long time, whereas Dan was someone who was recruited at 16. So two different, sort of backgrounds, but as young players, they should be looking up to them and thinking, well, that's where I want to be. That's the next level for me. And the message really to the younger players is they've got to listen to the coaches. They've got to live the right life, and they've got to. If they're going to try and be a footballer, they've got to go at it flat out and not just half-hearted. And if they do go for it and do everything right and live the right life, hopefully they can have half a chance of emulating to players like them.
Like you said, it's kind of the start of their careers really, and you reach that step. But for you as a coach and your team behind you, what would you have in place for those two players going forward? Do you have a training plan for Billy and Dan, or is that something that you might not be able to tell us?
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, there's no secret. Billy's the number 3 keeper at the club. He trains with the first team every day. He's part of their squad. Even though he's academy aged player, we don't really see him other than observing his progress that he's making. He's in great hands with David Lucas and the manager, and they've got big plans for Billy to do good things for the club, and every little detail of his development is tailored to him so that he can be the best he can be, and hopefully he can get in our first team in the not too distant future. With Dan Mooney, he's made that step up from the youth team last year. He's a first year pro now. He's still finding his feet with the development squad and trying to impress training with the first team when the opportunity comes. He's on loan at Bamber Bridge, so his development's going in a slightly different way, but that just shows that every player is different. They peak at different times and they need different paths, and I think certainly at this club we pay great attention to trying to find the right pathway for each player individually so that he can achieve his goals.
Yeah, we Sam Duffy, the press officer, spoke to Alec Cairns this week after he was nominated for Player of the Month, and here's what he had to say on Billy making his international debut.
Yeah, buzzing for him. I mean, Billy deserves a lot in the game. Just starting out now, he's got bags of ability, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him progress as a goalkeeper.
Ciaran, for a young player to hear praise from a goalkeeper colleague, and we know the goalkeepers union, they're quite close, will that give Billy a boost going forward?
Yeah, I mean, Alex is one of his peers really now that he trains with every day. He should see him as an equal, while still looking up to him because he's the number one keeper at this time at the club. He's got Alex has got some great attributes that Billy should look to try and emulate, while pushing forward with his own abilities. But there's a tight knit group there with the goalkeeper staff and the players. And that can only benefit the club, and they've got a real idea about what kind of keeper we're trying to produce here at the club, and I think at the moment Billy fits that mould, but still has attributes that he needs to develop to reach the kind of levels that we think he might be able to get to.
And when you first spoke to Fleetwood after joining the club, you spoke about a long-term project and seeing the success with Billy and Dan. Does that maybe change your objectives going forward, short-term and long-term? No,
not at all. It's still a long-term project. We've got a lot of work to do. We want to be the best Cat 3 academy, Category 3 academy, the standard that we currently lie, and we've got a lot of work to do to achieve that. We probably have some of the best facilities at our level, but we need to make sure that we have the best processes in place. We coach the best. We have, the best players. That's what we've got to aspire to achieve, and then we look beyond that. So, that my goal, even though I've been here 3 months now, and it's going to take a lot longer than that to get this academy as productive as we would like it to be. And we can get there, and we will get there, but there's no way of making that process any shorter than what I originally intended it to be.
Yeah, Ciaran, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I wish you all the best for the season. And that was Ciaran Donnelly speaking to the podcast on the iFollow. And we did speak to Alex Cairns in that short interview with Ciaran Donnelly, and unfortunately he has missed out on the Player of the Month award, with it going to Jack Marriott of Peterborough United. He scored 6 goals in 4 games for the Posh, so he's got that award. And head coach Uwe Rosler missed out on Manager of the Month as well, with the Posh manager Grant McCann winning that award, so well done to the both of those. But we did speak to Alex Cairns again during the interview, and here's what he had to say about the start of the season and Oldham on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm happy with the start. Good to get a couple of clean sheets on the board, but we're not reading too much into it. It's a long season, and we're going to, like I say, take it game by game, month by month, and see how we get on. From last season, Oldham are a very good side. They bring a lot to the table. Very physical side. Now looking forward to playing them like I do every game. Every game I look forward to, and like you said about being a busy month, we're looking forward to each game. And I've said before in previous interviews, I love playing games, so bring it on.
Yeah, Fleetwood take on Oldham at Highbury this Saturday for a 3 o'clock kickoff. But I did have another special guest in the studio. It was Stuart Murdoch, who's Director of Player Pathways here at Fleetwood Town, and he gave the listeners an insight into what he does on a day-to-day basis.
That's a very good question, Sam. I'm still trying to work it out myself. On a day-to-day basis, at the moment, we're trying to make sure that players from 19 all the way through to Nathan Pond have got the chance to follow the best pathway they can to get the best out of their careers. So a 19-year-old just having signed as a professional who probably isn't as close to the first team as he would like to be, we have to work out, is it best for him to be in the development squad, training here every day? Is it best that he mixes that with playing some non-league football? Once they've done that, going through the levels of non-league football, then it will get them closer to being ready for the first team, both physically, mentally, and knowing a little bit about the game. So it's just a day-to-day process of looking at each individual player and seeing what they need to get them along the road to being as close to the first team as possible and ready for the manager.
You look at players who are out on loan at the moment. Obviously, Elliot Osborne at Morecambe played his EFL debut the other day. Alex Reid and Akil Wright at Wrexham. There's a few others out on loan as well. Dion Charles at Halifax. When you're looking at these players going out, what's the process like? Is it clubs contact you or contact maybe Fleetwood Town first, or is it you asking clubs whether they'll take these players on board to get them development and ready for the first team?
Yes, I mean it's a mix of all of that, and again it depends on the individual. Let's take Akil Wright, who went out very early on in the season. He was not in the manager's plans for the first team squad, so we had to look at what was going to be the best thing for him. The manager wants him to play as a midfield player, so it was my job to try and find a club that needed a box-to-box midfield player. So in some cases it's clubs coming to us and saying this is what we need. In other cases it's me going to clubs and saying this is what we've got available. So it is a mix. With Alex Reid, there were a lot of clubs who wanted to take Alex Reid because of his previous goal-scoring ability, but we needed a club where one, he was going to be involved every week, because it's very easy to send players on loan and then they're not used to the extent that we want them to be used. So we needed an assurance from Wrexham that he was going to play. Once they're there, it's up to them. You know, if Alex Reid goes to Wrexham and isn't producing what he needs to produce, they're not going to play him. We understand that, but initially there needs to be that need to get them into a club where they're going to start. Nathan Sheron the same. He's just gone out this week to Chester, although we've had a rather unfortunate situation there that the manager has now left, but hopefully they will see that he's a player who can progress them, and the experience for him of playing in the conference is going to enhance his career and take him on to the next stage, hopefully.
And players go into maybe non-league and it's all about maybe playing at more of a man's game, so to speak. How important is it that those players get that experience out on loan?
Exactly, and that is where they are. Dan Mooney is at Bamber Bridge. Now, Dan Mooney's on a youth loan, which is a little bit different to the type of loans that the other boys are on, because in a youth loan he can also come back here and play for the development squad, or if he was still of youth team age, for the youth team. So in that case, it is purely about them learning about men's football, because coming out of a youth team environment, they've never played against men. They don't know what the brutality of it is. They don't know about winning 3 points that really matters. Okay, yes, there is a youth team league, but it's not quite as important to win and lose. We're about development and about them being better players, but also they've got to understand that when they get to the first team, it's all about 3 points.
When you talk to different clubs, is it also about building relationships with those clubs as well? Because obviously further down the line you might have another player who's ready to go out on loan, and if you've got that relationship with that club, for example Wrexham, that you can send those players back because you know what kind of relationship you've got there with them.
Yeah, exactly. I speak to the managers on a weekly basis, so I speak to them about the development of our players, but we also have other discussions about players that they've seen that might interest us. So there's lots of spin-offs from it. There's lots of different things that we can do, and it is building up those relationships with a number of clubs because of the variety of different things that are needed by them and by us. But hopefully most of the clubs are quite close, so the players can get back into Fleetwood and still be part of it, so they don't feel that they've been separated from us, and we can get to see them. So I will go and see them regularly. Steve Davis, head of recruitment, will go and see them. The coaching staff will go and see them. Paul Murray gets to see them as much as he can. So we've got this constant relationship with them. They don't feel that they've just been cast out from Fleetwood. They're still part of the club. We're still very, very keen to see that they feel that they can get back in to be further up the ladder than they were when they went out on loan.
And I guess for a player out on loan who's seen a representative from Fleetwood coming to watch their games, that must give them a bit of maybe a boost to show what they're doing out on loan.
Not if they see me there now. Yes, it's very important that they still feel part of this football club, and so seeing people there, talking to people there at the club that they're at, makes them realise that we are concerned about them. We do want them to progress. We're not just casting them aside. It's all part of that pathway and that development. I think it's important that players go through the stages, particularly young players. People say about players coming out of non-league and they jump into clubs and isn't it wonderful? Well, most players haven't done that. You know, Vardy did not jump straight out of non-league into the Premier League. He went through the levels, and people forget that he's gone from Stocksbridge to Halifax to Fleetwood, and he's gone through those levels. It was only then that he went to the Championship with Leicester and didn't actually get in the side for a long time. So, you know, people, very, very rarely does anybody jump from Conference North to play in the Championship or the Premier League. They've gone through the levels. And it's the same with our players. Whether we brought them out of a non-league side that's in Conference North, and then they need to play in League Two or the Conference, whether it's a youth team player who's never experienced men's football, who then needs that experience, so has to go back into non-league to then come back again.
We'll go back to talk about relationships, and Paul Murray's the development squad head coach there. The relationship you two must be quite key to how players develop. We talked a little bit about before players got on loan, but you must speak to Paul on a regular basis to see which players are maybe ready to make that next step.
Yeah, we talk on a daily basis, and also with the manager and with Rob Kelly and with Baz Nicholson. So it's a club involvement in all those players. So it's important that we sit down and discuss where players are at a particular time. For example, Mamadou Diaby now has just come back from a very long injury. He's been out for 14, 16 months. He's just played his first 20 minutes for the development squad. We now have to make a decision as to what is the best thing for Mamadou going forward. So the manager will be involved in that discussion. Where does he see him? It will then be Paul who will be involved with him day to day, coaching him as to where we feel that he should go next. Does he need to be about the club here on a daily basis and playing development games? Does he need to try and go out and get regular games at a different level? And so, yeah, it's an ongoing process.
Yeah, Stuart, thank you for taking time out to join us today on the podcast. It's really appreciate you talking about the ins and outs of player development and the role you play in the club. So all the best for the future, and thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure, Sam. Thank you.
Well, that is all we have time for today. We hope you have enjoyed listening to the CodCast this week. A huge thank you to all of our guests, and we all hope you have a good weekend, and let's hope the boys can pick up maximum points in their 2 back-to-back home games this week. Come on, Fleetwood.